This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. High Quality Hangers. It is indeed me, Rod Brooks. Couple of notes here. We're doing a little something different. But first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for supporting and listening to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. We are 24, soon to be 25 episodes into this broadcasting adventure. And quite frankly, the support that we've gotten from the jump has been beyond my wildest dreams. So thanks to all of you, and special thanks to my friends at the Bay Area Sports Collective for their support. But we are not done. Make sure you check out the Bay Area Sports Collective and go and listen to and follow all of those shows. And as always, because this is how we traffic in this sort of new media age, make sure you go to youtube.com and subscribe to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. Follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Rod Brooks TV. Follow the show on X at Quality Hang, and also follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, as we will soon be broadcasting from those platforms. So serious business. Thanks to all of you, whether you supported us from the beginning or whether you got in midstream, it don't matter. Once you get to the Quality Hang family, you are a quality hanger, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So as you can tell, this is not the normal live show. We will get back on track. We will get back, Marcus and myself, with a live Quality Hang this upcoming Friday at our usual time at 8 o'clock. It will be a free-for-all Friday. Those are always fun, but I haven't had a chance to do a couple of live Quality Hangs on Monday and today on Wednesday. Everything's fine, just some things we got to take care of. Nothing to worry about if indeed you were worried, but it's very important to me because we did make this commitment to give you Quality Hang, to give you content, as it is called nowadays, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. or at least 3 times a week whenever we could do it. So it was important to me to get something out today. And I do have something that I'm absolutely ecstatic about because I had a chance to chop it up with one of my favorite people, one of my friends, former Raiders CEO, Amy Trask. And let me tell you something, Amy is an absolute Renaissance woman. If it's out there to be done, Amy Trask has done it. Former Oakland Raiders CEO. Very important to make the distinction that she was the CEO, the chief executive officer for the Oakland Raiders, their second stint in the Bay. Amy was the first CEO of the Big Three, Ice Cube's 3-on-3 professional league, and she is currently on still the board of directors of the Big Three. She's an analyst, Amy Trask, for the CBS Sports Network and for CBS Sports. You'll see her on NFL Today and that other pregame show on the CBS Sports Network. And also, she's a part of the all-female sports talk show, We Need to Talk. And Amy is the co-host of the What the Football podcast. And lastly, Amy is a published author. Her book is You Negotiate Like a Girl. Amy, as you will be able to tell very quickly in my conversation with Amy Trask is one of my absolute favorite people in the world. And the more you get to know Amy, she will be one of your favorites. And what is cool about Amy is that when you meet her, whether you know her for a long time or it's a chance meeting, Amy's always going to have your back, and she had mine from the beginning, as you will tell. So enjoy this conversation I had with my good friend, the Renaissance woman, Amy Trask. And we'll see you guys down the road. Absolute pleasure to welcome the wonderful, delightful Amy Trask. Amy, how are you?
I am well, and boy, that was an overwhelming introduction, and it is so fun to see your face, even though on a screen and not in person. If we were together, I'd be hugging you right now. I miss hanging out with you, so it's fun to hang here with you. It is an honor and a pleasure to join you. Thank you.
You remain the best. I ran out of room on my note card here for all the stuff that you've done. I had to do some editing. There were some things I had to leave out, so I wanted to make sure that I got all the hits.
Kind of surprisingly, you left out the part where I was the one person with the team to check on you after you got walloped on the sideline. Let's just make that clear.
And that's
One
where we're
person
going to
with the
start.
team came over to check on your well-being.
Listen, that's where we're going to start. And this is the game where, to give some backstory, this is my first game as a sideline reporter in the NFL. I'm 24 or 25 years old. So this is at Lambeau Field, preseason game between the then Oakland Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. And I am absolutely and totally out of my depth. And I was out of my league as I'm standing on the field, and there's a touchdown pass being thrown. It was eventually incomplete, but it was thrown in the end zone, and it was literally coming right at me. And I'm staring at the football, and there's Lambeau Field is filling my entire field of vision, and the football is coming. And I'm thinking, this is so cool, but I'm not noticing the very two fast athletes, the wide receiver and the cornerback, who are coming directly at me, both trying to either catch the football or contest the football. Long story short, I'm standing literally on the inline. The two players come and barrel right into me, and I get smacked, boom, on the shin. And I have what is medically known as a hematoma, what is more commonly known as a massive lump on my left shin. One person came up to me and asked me, how was I doing? Are you okay? And do you need anything? And that one person was Amy Trask. And Amy, I've told you this a lot of times, albeit it's sort of in a disembodied voice way, doing interviews over the phone or whatever, but I get a chance to say it, not in person, but to say it to you as I look into this camera and look at you. You were the only person in a professional setting to show genuine concern for a dumb kid who got in the way. And I want to say once again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are very nice, and there's no need to say thank you. And as one person who started her career as a dumb kid, younger than the age of 24, I understand your point about being the young kid on that sideline. And for those of who are listening or watching or both, he got walloped. I'm upstairs where, in that day and age, there weren't suites for the visiting team staff. Visiting team staff sat in a visiting team staff area of the press box. And I'm there and I see Rod just get smacked. So we get on the plane, we're going home. And of course I checked on you. First of all, I wanted to make sure you were alive and they didn't just carry you on and throw you in a chair. But I thought you might need ice or ice cream or something. So of course I checked on you. And you know what? As two kids who started our careers as kids, we did okay.
Yeah, we did all right. We did all right. We eventually found our footing and had some wonderful times and some wonderful, at times, surreal experiences. I'm going to go back a little bit more in the Wayback Machine, and then we will look presently.
I love the Wayback Machine.
It's, you know what? It's fun. I found this press pass a little while ago, and I want to see if this jogs a memory for you. Monday, November 22nd, 1999. Raiders, Broncos at Old Mile High Stadium. Does that game, I know you've seen a lot, but does that game ring a bell?
It does. There are a lot of games for me in Denver that ring a lot of different bells. Oh boy, could we get started with that?
That was my first Raiders, Broncos Monday night game at Mile High Stadium. The dearly missed Mile High Stadium. That was one of the great old football fields, football stadiums in the history of this country. I heard about the Raider Bronco rivalry, as a kid growing up in Houston. I knew it was a thing, but to experience it for the first time on a Monday night was absolutely mind blowing. And if I remember correctly, it was a close game. The Raiders lost. And I was on the far end of the field where the old bleachers were, that when the fans would jump up and down, the bleachers would move. And I'm standing there, clock hits 000, and all of a sudden, snowballs just fill the sky.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
and I'm thinking, oh God, I have to walk 100 yards from the far end of the field all the way to where the locker rooms were. And if I'm remembering correctly, both teams sort of mingled there. The Raiders went off to one side, Broncos went off to the other. But I remember watching players have to walk this snowball-filled gauntlet as they went into the locker room. And I finally smartened up where I was like, you know what? I'm going to hang back for a little bit because I don't think I need to be walking with the Raider players who have helmets on. I don't think I need to be walking with them as they're being pelted with snowballs. So I hung back and I just watched all of the chaos ensue. And by the time I got into the entrance where the locker room was, that's where I saw the chaos. That's where I saw Lincoln Kennedy. That's where I saw you. That's where I saw Charles Woodson being very quickly hustled off the premises so he didn't have to talk to Denver law enforcement. And I would just remember thinking to myself, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. What is this game? What is this rivalry? And who are these people? And why is Amy Trask in the middle of it?
Well, I'm walking off the side. I'm on this at the end of the game. I went down to the sideline and I'm following our team into the locker room area. And as you noted, snowballs come flying out of the stands. The fans are pelting our entire team, our coaches, our players, our trainers, our medical staff. They're all getting pelted with snowballs. And I'm walking alongside the team or with the team, but I'm walking kind of just behind Lincoln Kennedy. Now, for those who are watching and or just listening, Lincoln Kennedy, if you don't know, one of the most dominant offensive linemen. If you are going anywhere, if you are going to fight zombies, if you are going to fight an alien invasion, if you are going anywhere, you want Lincoln Kennedy in front of you because he is not going to let anyone mess with anyone he's protecting. Well, here come these snowballs flying down. Oh, and then for those of you who don't know, I'm all of like 5'3" if I stand up really, really, really tall. Some would say I'm stretching literally and figuratively, and I'm closer to 5'2.5". But either way, I probably come up to Lincoln's, not even his waist, maybe his waist. Well, I'm following the team down the sideline, and the snowballs are just pummeling us. So Lincoln starts heading up into the stands, presumably to have a word with the fans about what they're doing. Well, my immediate thought, I can't let Lincoln go into the stands alone. I have to protect Lincoln. I've got to have Lincoln's back. I can't let Lincoln face this alone. And I go storming into the stands, heading up the stairs from the field into the stands, following Lincoln. Now, mind you, I'm thinking I'm protecting Lincoln Kennedy. And the reason I gave you the background I did, Lincoln protected everyone he protected. He protected. But I had to protect Lincoln. So I go just marching up behind Lincoln in the stands, and all of our players on the sideline, Charles and Amy, get out of there. Amy, what are you doing? Amy, would you get out of the stands? But I had Lincoln's back, literally and figuratively. We stopped those snowballs and we went into the locker room. And I tease Lincoln about it to this day about how I had your back, Lincoln. I was protecting you. But really the funniest part was when the other players on the sideline were laughing at me so hard, saying, "Aim, could you get out of the stands before we have to come save you? Aim, what are you doing? You don't need to protect Lincoln. Lincoln protects us." But it was a fun moment in a very, very storied rivalry. And if I may, Rod, and I don't want to talk more than you want me to, but I will share another moment from that game. Again, this is in a day and age before they had suites for visiting team owners and visiting team staff. We were seated in the visiting team staff area of the press box, and I'm sitting right near Al Davis. And Al is, as he always did, muttering out loud, not even really muttering, just speaking out loud, sometimes in a loud voice, running commentary on what he's seeing on the field when things aren't going well. And at one point I get up and I slide over. I'm like, "Al, everyone in the press box can hear you. Every single thing you say is fair game for every member of the media." And he looks at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. So he keeps doing it. And I say to him once more, "Every single thing you say is being written down and it's going to be published." Well, we get home, we fly home on the team plane that night. The next day, umpteen things that Al said are published in newspapers in Colorado, in California. And he calls me and said, "Where did they get that information?" Like, were you not listening?
That's Amy Trask in a nutshell. Nurturing and protecting if you have to do it in a very kind way, or if you have to be fierce about it, or if you have to just lay out some common sense. The great thing about you as in your career and just as a person is that you have the best interests of people and animals at heart. It just you lead with what's best and what can I do for people that I know, I care about, I work with, and obviously animals that of course need advocates and they need people to protect them. That's just how you get down. And for you to make that a part of your ethos as a human being, but also in your career, again, I think that's special because that's just an ethos and an instinct that a lot of people don't have, especially in the game of football.
Well, you're very, very generous and very kind as always. I've never thought it was mutually inconsistent to be tough and strong and a leader and fierce when need be, but also be kind to others and be kind, of course, to animals. And there are those who know me who say I sometimes put that in reverse order and look out more for animals than I do for other people. But be that as it may, we can look out for all species because that's really what we all are. We're animals too. We're all species.
Yes, ma'am. People talk a lot about the sort of the interesting pairing and partnership between Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. And as far as I'm concerned, that partnership, that unusual partnership to me is totally secondary.
I love it.
To you and Ice Cube. Amy Trask and Ice Cube, friends. They hang out, they conversate, in business together at one point. As I mentioned, you were the first CEO of the Big Three Basketball League, founded by Ice Cube and other partners. I would think the Raider, obviously, connection, Ice Cube being a Los Angeles Raiders fan, you being the CEO of the Oakland Raiders. Obviously, there's the connection there. But how did the personal and the business connection truly come together and flourish between you two?
So the Big Three was formed by Cube and his longtime business partner, Jeff Quatnitz. They are both esteemed members of the music industry, both big Raider fans. That's initially how I met them. A lot of fun stories associated therewith. And when they first formed the Big Three, Jeff called me and said, we'd like you to be involved and we'd like you to be the CEO. And I said, new phone, who dis? I was just not interested. But I did join them. I remain a part of the board of directors. I am honored and thrilled to be a part of their vision. You know what, Rod, when they started the league and I joined them in its first year, all the naysayers, it'll never last more than a year. We won't be hearing from them again. Well, we're about to, and see, I always make this mistake and they always call me on it. I was about to say about to kick off, but no, we're about to tip off our 8th season. So it will be our 8th season. We will be on CBS Sports, CBS, part of the CBS Sports family, but on CBS again this season, as well as on other streaming platforms and otherwise. And, I will tell you this, when NWA burst on the scene, I immediately became not only an NWA fan, but a Cube fan. I knew him immediately to be a stupendous, magnificent, tremendous artist. What I have learned since working with him is that he is a tremendous, magnificent, stupendous businessman. And mostly what I have learned is he is a stupendous, magnificent, tremendous human being. And the world would be a lot better with more men like Cube and more men like Jeff. I work with them because it is an honor to help them fulfill their vision. And the two of them pursue this vision with a strength and a resolve that is inspiring.
This thing is really, really big in terms of just, how can I put it? Like the streets from a grassroots level. Last year in Oakland, just the people came out and it was just a fun celebration. And as it goes through the country, you can just see people who love basketball. And obviously the NBA is the NBA, but these folks who come out for the Big Three, they love basketball and they love hoop. And you could just see the way that the league is presented on television and in the in-arena product and how it really appeals to the fan and how it's fan oriented. What you guys, Big Three wise, have given to the fans the fans of the Big Three are giving it right back to you. You love hoop, they love hoop, and there's this symbiotic relationship that you can genuinely feel when you check out a game.
We love our fans. We are family friendly. We welcome people to bring their families, to let their kids come sideline or sideline. There I go again. Courtside after the games or between games to get autographs. We love that families join us. I'll tell you a quick story in that regard. I see this little boy walking down on the court approaching Oakley, who's coaching his team. And I realized the little boy is holding a pad. He wants his autograph. And he's coaching the team. It's a timeout. He's bent over the bench coaching the team. And I'm sitting courtside thinking, how can I throw my body between
there you go again.
and this little boy? I've got to jump between them and present, and I got to prevent something from happening here. Well, before I can do that, Oak turns around, graciously autographs for the little boy, greets him, says hello, and turns back to coaching. If that don't say family friendly, I don't know what does.
And for those who don't know, Charles Oakley is easily one of the most intimidating players in NBA history. And still to this day, Oak is a very intimidating presence. So for Charles Oakley to sort of have a softer side and show that in the heat of battle is definitely interesting.
Nothing underscores that we welcome families more than Oakley doing that during a timeout.
Right. Hey, I want to pick your brain about the NFL.
One sec before you do that.
Sure.
This is the Big Three's first year of having teams assigned to a certain city. And the reason I note that is there is a team in Los Angeles, and that team will be playing in Los Angeles. And I am on record right here, right now, officially, to say what I've said to you in the past. Come on down, be my guest. We'll sit you courtside. I'll get you ice cream, and you can come to the game, and we can have fun.
Listen, don't threaten me with a good time, Amy Trask. All right? All right.
I'll send you all the info.
Oh, you are the absolute best. Again, see, there's Amy Trask, always looking out for others. The NFL, I find it so interesting how the NFL is changing, how the attitudes towards gambling is been relaxed, how the NFL is moving broadcasting wise, going to streaming, and possibly being heavier into streaming once they start to do the new broadcasting contracts here coming up in the not too distant future, and how the NFL has gone headlong internationally. You're going to have another slate of games internationally starting in Brazil. They're going to go back over to London and a game in Spain and a game in Germany. And a lot of people say, and I think this is true, we're eventually going to get an international Super Bowl. You know this league in and out, and you've seen its changes. What's the biggest change in your mind that the NFL is made, and are there other changes down the road that you see or you can predict?
Well, you mentioned three very, very, very significant changes. Of the changes you made, I'll point to the gambling change. You may remember this, Rod, but many, many years ago, we, and I say we from the time that I was with the Raiders, were the first of the NFL teams to put a reference on our team website to fantasy football. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, we didn't put a link to which you could bet or which you could play fantasy football. We simply put up information about how fantasy worked and the sites you could visit to learn about it. Well, within 2 or 3 minutes of putting that on our website, my private line, and yes, kids, we had landlines back then. My private landline rang, and I picked up, and it was an executive from the league office. And he said 4 words, Amy, take it down. So think about that. During my career with the league, we put up information about fantasy football. Our site didn't give you the ability to gamble or to play fantasy, but just information. Within 2 to 3 minutes, Amy, take it down. And look at where we are now with respect to gambling. So that's been a very significant change. Of course, the other ones you mentioned are significant as well, and I'll add one to that list. Allowing private equity to invest in teams.
Yes.
That is something that had been discussed going back to my years in the team. And, when I was in the team, it was discussed for years. I would say maybe, I'm trying to figure out, for at least a half a dozen to 10 years that I was in the league, I'm not saying that well. For a chunk of the time during my years in the league.
No, I got you.
I'm stumbling over how to say that. But that was a topic of discussion. And there were a number of owners who were very much in favor of allowing private equity or other institutional investors to invest. Because look, it's supply and demand. And as the price of teams keeps growing and growing and growing, the list of people who can write a check, so to speak, that ain't that big a list. Yeah. And remember, not only did the league limit who could invest in a team, but the amount of debt that can sit on a team or sit on an owner's ownership interest in a team is very, very limited. So if you're looking to sell a piece of your team and you can't sell it to private equity or an institutional investor, and you can't pile on more and more and more debt, it's going to make it harder and harder and harder to sell. And that's going to put at some point a cap on the value of teams. Well, letting in private equity has taken that cap right off. So I am not surprised that the league has made this move to allow private equity to invest in teams. In some regards, I'm surprised that it's taken this long, but it is a seismic shift. So when people ask me about the change in gambling rules, the international streaming versus broadcast, the one I look to as incredibly significant is allowing private equity to invest in teams.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. Is this the NFL's way getting into bed with private equity? Is this their way of getting around something that they don't like to do, which is have business entities own teams? The NFL likes to have individuals own teams. Families, they're okay with that, but they like for individuals. They don't want Apple to own a team or Amazon to own a team. Is the private equity thing a way of getting around that, or is that eventually what's going to happen? Because again, money is money, and they have the money.
You are absolutely right. The league wants individual or family or small partnership ownership of a team. In other words, they don't want an institutional investor to be the controlling owner. The league requires each team to designate a controlling owner. And in most cases, that controlling owner is required to own 30% of the team. There are exceptions for people whose teams have been in their family for decades and decades and decades. They only need own 20%, but there has to be an owner who's denominated the controlling owner. That is a person or a person who's the GP of a family partnership. Bottom line, Rod, you're right. They want family or individual or small group, not large institutional ownership, which is why private equity is limited to minority shareholding, a limited stake in each company, and not the controlling owner.
Yeah. When the news came out last week about the John Madden movie that's currently in production, I want to throw these pictures up and ask you, as someone, you knew these men, right? They weren't, one guy just wasn't, selling video games, and the other guy is just not, a regular person in Al Davis. You knew these people. When you saw this picture, when you saw the photos of this movie, what did you think?
Well, a couple things. You're right. John Madden's coaching with the Raiders was over before I joined the team. So in other words, by the time I joined as an intern, he was no longer the head coach. But make no mistake about it, he had a dominating, and I use that word in the most wonderful sense, a dominating presence in the organization. I guess the better way to say that, he was a larger than life, important presence in the organization. He was in the building. He was at games. He was at all of our events and dinners. And he and Al had a tremendous, tremendous relationship, as you noted. So, of course, I interacted with John over my almost 30 years in the league. I was simply noting in my response, somewhat tongue-in-cheek to some of those social media inquiries, that no, John was no longer the head coach when I was there, but he had a tremendous, tremendous role in the organization. From the moment he started coaching and thereafter, his role didn't end when he stopped coaching. There's actually a very funny story involving me and John. He did the annual Madden Mariucci Bocce tournament.
Yes.
Well, one year I led our Raider team. I coached our Raider Bocce team, our players, and we won. And I went prancing around the court. Rod, I had my hands in the air. I was prancing. I was preening. And I was like doing it right in John Madden's face. And Willie Brown comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Amy, you're a little over the top. Hey, come on. When Willie Brown tells you you're over the top, when Willie Brown tells you you're gloating a little too much, you've gone too far. So at one point, at the next time I saw John Madden at an event, I said, look, I think I might have gone too far. And I was really preening and gloating in your face. And if that bothered you, I am sorry. And he looks at me and says, you should be. So they are making this movie. I have shared with everyone involved that it is important to me that they portray these men beautifully and accurately and correctly. And if I can be of assistance in that regard, I will. Michael Strahan, of course, and he and his longtime business mentor and partner, Con Schwartz, are executive producers. And I know that they will want to do right by Al and by John.
Yeah, it must be surreal to see people that be portrayed in a movie. And the one thing that I was, just immediately, I was just like, I don't know if I like this, because Hollywood and football, they just don't go together, because Hollywood just doesn't know how to make football movies. They know how to do baseball movies, but football, they just have a problem with the exception of the original Longest Yard, Remember the Titans, and North Dallas 40. The rest of the football movies, from my point of view, I'm just like, I don't like it. It's good to hear that Michael Strahan, a football player, one of the greats, a Hall of Famer, a football player, is going to be a part of it, because the portrayal of John Madden and others is important. But if this thing is really going to make some waves, you got to do right by the football. You can't tell the story about people in football if you don't get the football part right. So it's good to hear that Strahan's going to be a part of it.
You're right. And also, I got 4 words for you.
What's that?
Christian Bale, Nicolas Cage. Those are tremendous actors. And Christian in particular, they're going to put the work in, and they're going to study, and they are going to do the best they can be. They're going to do the best they can to be the best they can be in those rails. When I saw they got Christian to play Al, I thought, oh, okay, and Nicholas to play John.
Last thing, this is my favorite picture of you. This is Amy Trask in her glory. This is Amy Trask, the right hand and left hand woman of Al Davis. Al lording over his domain, Amy looking for potential threats, be they real or imagined.
I call this the who looks pissier picture, because it is really hard to tell which one of us looks more pissed off, either at the other one or at something we're talking about, or both. But look how annoyed we both look.
That's why it's my favorite picture of you. That is the photographic representation, I think, in a nutshell.
Okay, whoever's in charge of Quality Hang, Rod Brooks and Friends, screenshot this picture, this page right now. Screenshot this, because I want to share it.
Okay, I will absolutely do that. We have a team full of people behind me that.
And the team full of people's names are Rod and Brooks, right?
They're all in this little room that needs air conditioning today. Al Davis, to me, he was like seeing a statue come to life and move. As a kid who grew up loving football and falling in love with it in the 70s, and being a fan of the then hapless Houston Oilers, the Oakland Raiders and Al Davis seemed like this bigger, larger than life entity. And then I, as a kid, in 1998, 24, 25 years old, I'm the sideline reporter for the Raiders, and there's Al Davis. And like I said, it was like seeing a statue come to life. Your relationship with Al Davis is unique, and there will never be anything like it in professional football, and I don't think in American sports. Was it a father figure relationship? Was it strictly always business? I get a sense that you guys had a real relationship in terms of there was give, there was take, there was agreement, there was disagreement, but you both had one thing in common. The most important thing was 2 things: the Oakland Raiders, LA Raiders, and winning. Those are the 2 things. And you were aligned on that, and you 2 guys were able to walk in lockstep. Am I somewhere close on that?
You've gotten so much of that, just nailed so much to a T. The biggest misconception about Al is that he wouldn't tolerate those who disagreed with him, that he wouldn't tolerate disagreement. If that were the case, I would have been fired roughly 2 weeks into my job. He walked into a room where I was sitting with a colleague, and he ripped into that guy like I can only imagine a velociraptor would rip into flesh. And I listened for a little bit, and I realized he was wrong. So after a few minutes, I said, in a fairly loud voice, because he was speaking very loudly, "Excuse me, you're wrong." And his head spun around like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. And he looked at me, and we had a back and forth. I won't go into the details now, but I ultimately said to him, if the facts on which you were basing your conclusion were accurate, then your conclusion would be fair. But you're basing your conclusion on inaccurate information. And we went back and forth and back and forth. And after about 20 minutes, during which the entire staff had gathered in the hallway to listen, and someone brought a box because they figured I'd be getting fired, he said, "Oh, I gotcha. I get it." And we moved on. And I think that set the tone for a almost 30-year working relationship where we disagreed more than we agreed. But I recognized he owned the team. And it was my job to tell him when I thought he was wrong, to try to change his mind. And then if I couldn't change his mind, to do the best I could with whatever decisions he made, with no finger pointing, no distancing myself, none of that. When an organization makes a decision, it's the decision of the organization. And, was it a business relationship? In the very, very best sense. Did he care about me? Yes, he did. I remember his call to my husband when my mother-in-law passed away. I remember breaking down in tears with him on a couple occasions. And while most people will say to a woman, "Don't ever cry on the job, don't ever cry on the job," I did cry on the job a couple of times with Al. And that was well before he named me CEO, so it certainly didn't deter me. And his response when I cried was to call my husband and say, "Come pick her up. I don't want her driving herself home." In other words, he cared. He really cared. But yes, we had a very, very strong, argumentative in the best way business relationship.
If folks get anything out of this conversation, I want them to get this. When Amy Trask is on your side, when she is an advocate for you or whatever you are into, your position is immediately stronger. Your whatever your get down is. If Amy Trask is down with you, you have a fierce protector, a fierce competitor, but someone that has an absolute heart of gold. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You are one of the nicest, sweetest, fiercest, smartest people that I've ever had a chance to meet. And if my dumb butt wasn't standing way too close to the stage on that day in Green Bay, well, we would have been friends.
We would have met anyway.
But I got to know Amy Trask, the person, that day. Not Amy Trask, the CEO, the fierce negotiator. I got to know Amy Trask, the person, that day, my first day on the job, and I am forever grateful. And all these many years later, ain't nothing changed. You're the best.
Well, thank you, Rod. And what you just said to me is among the most special things that anyone has ever said to me in my whole life. And let the record reflect before you hang up on me, because it is the quality hang, so it might be the quality hang up, that when we get off the phone, I'm going to be crying a few tears at how touched I am by what you shared. And if that's a lesson people can take away from this, kids today can take away, you can be strong, you can be fierce, you can advocate for what you believe is right, and you can still be kind to other people. And you need not be cruel or nasty or mean to be firm and fierce.
And that is a great place to end it. It was a quality hang, wasn't it, Amy Trask?
It was. And Rod, I will always and forever have your back, whether on the sideline, courtside at a Big 3 game, or anywhere. You need me. You're ever fighting off zombies. You are ever running away from a serial killer. You call me and I have got your back.
Same here. You know it.
We would be fierce against the zombies. No, I will end with this. I'm often, the way I phrase things about when I feel about someone as I feel about you is to say, if ever I'm in a foxhole, if ever I am fighting off zombies, if ever I am trying to escape from a serial killer, I want you by my side.
I'm there. You're the best. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Rod.
much. The great Amy Trask.